Hello, and welcome to the 2022-23 MME PSAT 8-9 for Grade 8 Test Administration Session, Part 1. My name is Terrence Ingram, Implementation Manager for College Board, and I'll be your presenter today. Our goal is to share the latest information about the state-provided Spring PSAT 8-9 for Grade 8 assessment during our time together today. We will provide general information on PSAT 8-9 for Grade 8, an update on changes planned for spring 2023 testing, reminders on how fall 2022 and spring 2023 administrations are different, information to help you verify that your school is set up to administer the spring assessments, and tasks that should be completed between now and the end of 2022 to get your school ready for testing. Please note some key differences of system usage between testing that took place in the fall 2022 and the testing that will take place in spring 2023. In spring, the OEAA secure site is required for establishment, pre-identification, the additional material order window, and answer document verification. In spring, EEM is also a required system to identify test staff and school addresses. Those systems were not required in fall 2022. Although coordinators utilize the test ordering system in the fall, it will not be used to order assessments in spring 2023. Finally, SSD Online was required for accommodation requests and approvals in the fall, and it will also be a required system for accommodations requests and approvals in the spring. We will now take a look at differences and similarities between PSAT 8-9 and MSTEP. I'll mainly note the differences between MSTEP and PSAT 8-9 and briefly mention the similarity. Unlike MSTEP, College Board assessments are timed that do not allow self-pacing. Students must use the entire time allotted for each test. If approved for extended time, students must use the entire time for which they are approved. PSAT 8-9 is a paper pencil administration only. Pertaining to test day, unless absent, students are expected to test on the primary test day with College Board assessments, while on the MSTEP, there is greater flexibility. Finally, schools must request accommodations for PSAT 8-9, while they do not have to do so for the MSTEP. The one similarity between the two assessments is that pre-identification via the OEAA secure site is required. The next few slides will address general information and more specifically updates for spring 2023, spring 2023 test dates, and the roles and responsibilities of test staff. Here's some important updates and reminders for spring 2023. Regarding paper administration, please remember the spring 2023 PSAT 8-9 will remain paper-based. There is no option for digital testing this spring. As for offsite testing, coordinators only need to submit an offsite testing request if they will be returning test materials directly from the offsite testing location. Submit the offsite request form at sat.org/offsite request. I'll speak more about offsite requesting in a future slide. Another update. What used to be referred to as the master student list is now referred to as the school-wide student list in the testing manuals. The list has the same purpose, but a new name. Translated test directions for English learners are now available in Pashto and Ukrainian for PSAT 8-9. And finally, the non-standard administration report, or NAR, is now available to download in CSV format. Let's turn our attention to test dates. Grade 8 students are expected to test on the PSAT 8-9 for grade 8 on the primary test day of April 12, 2023. Students absent on the primary test day can be flexibly scheduled to test within the primary window between April 13 and 18. The makeup window is for any student who was absent during the primary testing window or for students that need to retest due to an irregularity. The makeup testing window is April 25th through 26th. Schools will use a survey that will be sent out on April 11, 2023 to request makeup test books for PSAT 8-9. Different test books will be used in the primary testing window and the makeup testing window. Again, this makeup survey will be sent to all test coordinators on April 11, 2023. In addition to the primary and makeup testing windows, there is an accommodated testing window open from April 12th through the 25th. All students with approved accommodations taking the PSAT 8-9 for grade 8 can flexibly be scheduled anytime in the accommodated testing window. Here is a snapshot of the PSAT 8-9 for grade 8 test dates. Roles and responsibilities of testing staff. The next several slides will explain the roles and responsibilities of testing staff. Remember, test coordinators, backup coordinators, and SSD coordinators must be identified in the educational entity master. Let's begin with some general descriptions before unpacking each role in a more detailed fashion. Test coordinators are responsible for all aspects of the administration at the school. Backup test coordinators are responsible for the administration if the test coordinator is not available. SSD coordinators are responsible for requesting accommodations for students with disabilities and supports for English learners. Proctors are the test administrator in a testing room. Room monitors assist the proctor with monitoring students in the testing room. And hall monitors monitor the hallways on test day and provide breaks to other test staff. The test coordinator is responsible for all aspects of the test administration at a school, including preparation activities such as planning rooms and identifying staff to serve as proctors, room monitors, and hall monitors for test day, receiving, inventorying, and securing test materials. They're also responsible for distribution of materials, monitoring of all test day activities and staff, packaging and returning test materials, and completing all required forms. The test coordinator may choose to enlist the aid of others at the school to help with test day planning and setup. He or she will be the primary point of contact and receive communications from the College Board. The test coordinator should coordinate with the SSD coordinator to ensure that students with disabilities and English learners are supported appropriately. The Services for Students with Disabilities, or SSD coordinator, is responsible for being the school's liaison with the College Board Services for Students with Disabilities office, submitting accommodation requests and planning for English learner supports, and printing the roster of students approved for accommodations. Schools may have more than one SSD coordinator. However, one person should be identified as the primary SSD coordinator who will receive the communications from College Board. If a school has multiple SSD coordinators, the primary one should share any communications with other SSD coordinators. The SSD coordinator and test coordinator should collaborate with the district's English learner coordinator to plan for testing students with EL supports. The proctor is responsible, for managing all activities that happen in the testing room. Proctor is also responsible for administering the test and monitoring test takers to ensure a fair administration. Each room requires one proctor. The room monitor and hall monitor are responsible for assisting the test coordinator and proctor. Room monitors help set up the testing area and monitor testing, while hall monitors patrol the hallways during testing to make sure the testing area remains quiet and secure. Staff with related students. Staff with children cannot have access to any test materials for the same assessment the child is taking before test day. For example, if a staff member's child will be taking the PSAT 8-9, that staff member cannot have access to testing materials before test day for PSAT 8-9, no matter if the child lives with a staff member or not. The staff member may access testing materials prior to test day for PSAT 10 or SAT. If a staff member's niece will be taking the PSAT 8-9 and the niece does not live in the same house as the staff member, he or she can have access to testing materials before test day for the PSAT 8-9. Proctors may not administer the test to any member of their family. It is possible for test day staff to serve multiple roles in a small school. Additional flexibility may be available to small schools if needed. Call the Michigan Educator Hotline for guidance if you see fit. Using the Educational Entity Master, or EEM. The Educational Entity Master EEM is the repository of entity and contact information for educational systems in Michigan. College Board will use the data in EEM to identify contact information for testing staff, including email addresses used for sending emails and physical addresses used to ship testing materials. Review and update the testing staff in the EEM at a building level as soon as possible. If there is more than one person listed for a role, College Board will use the most recent. If the information listed is correct, no further action is needed. If the information is incorrect, EEM should be updated by the district authorized user. Anytime the identified staff changes during the school year, EEM should be updated to reflect the change. College Board receives the updates 7 to 10 days after they are made in EEM. Identify or update following staff in EEM at the building level as necessary. This includes the PSAT Grade 8 Test Coordinator, the PSAT Grade 8 Backup Test Coordinator, and PSAT Grade 8 Services for Students with Disabilities Coordinator. All schools need a valid attending institution or AI code to administer College Board assessments. This will also be referred to as the school code. This is different than your Michigan assigned building code. The AI code is 6 digits and usually starts with 23. It connects student data to a school, which is why it's so important. To confirm your AI code, go to collegereadiness.collegeboard.org/K12 school code search. As establishment activities are completed, AI codes will be included in the Test Center participation page of the OEAA secure site. Test coordinators will receive email confirmation of the AI code in mid-December. There are 2 general routes for establishment: public school process and the non-public school process. We'll discuss these 2 routes on the next few slides. First, public schools. MDE and College Board have determined rules in which some schools are automatically established to participate for an assessment. If a school has been automatically established and plans to administer the assessment, no further action is needed. If a school does not meet the auto establishment rules for a particular assessment, the school will need to indicate their intent to participate for that assessment. If a school has been automatically established and does not plan to administer the assessment, contact College Board immediately to request to be unestablished. Be ready to provide a reason for requesting an establishment. Public schools will be automatically established to administer PSAT 8-9 for grade 8 if the actual grade listed in EEM includes 8 and your school tested at least 5 students for PSAT 8-9 for grade 8 in 2022 and 2021 combined. Or the actual grade listed in EEM includes 8 and your school is new in 2022, 2023. Non-public schools, on the other hand, must indicate intent to participate every year for each assessment. If you choose to administer the PSAT, you must administer the M-STEP. Roles should be identified or reviewed in EEM as soon as possible. If you need to make updates, contact non-public schools at michigan.gov. Using the contact information provided by MDE, College Board will send an email to all non-public schools requesting confirmation of their intent to participate in MME on November 4. By the time you view this recording, that email should have already been sent. To confirm, call 866-870-3127 or email Michigan Administrator Support at collegeboard.org. Provide your state-assigned district and building codes, the name of your school, and the assessments you plan to administer. You must respond by November 21st, 2022, or your school may not be able to administer the assessment. As a friendly reminder, district assessment coordinators, principals, and test coordinators will receive an intent to participate email on November 4 if a school was not automatically established, again, By the time you view this recording, you should have already received that intent to participate email if it applies to you. This includes all non-public schools and certain public schools that did not meet the auto establishment rules previously discussed. Respond to the intent to participate communication if received. If schools do not respond by November 21st, 2022, they may not be able to administer the assessment. Follow the directions in the email, even if you don't plan to participate, so that we can remove you from the communication list. MDE has a test center participation page where schools can verify the assessments they are established for. Establishment has begun and will continue on a rolling basis. Participation will be updated in the OEAA secure site as new establishment activities occur. Contact the Michigan Educator Hotline at 866-870-3127 only if establishment information is not correct in the OEAA secure site by December 16, 2022. As a means of being proactive, please take note of the following common issues that will delay a school's establishment. Inaccuracies in the actual grades or coordinator information in EEM. The address associated with the coordinator record in EEM being inaccurate. If schools don't respond to the intent to participate communication by the deadline, this will result in delayed establishment. And finally, updates to EEM being made at the district level instead of the building level will result in delays. Administration timing. On the screen is a breakdown of the time allotted for PSAT 8-9 testing. Plan for approximately 3 hours for PSAT 8-9 for grade 8 to account for test day administrative activities, testing, and break times. This schedule does not include passing out and collecting test booklets or other test day administrative activities. Please note that 8th and 9th graders cannot test together. The optional lunch break is not applicable for PSAT 8-9. That is only applicable to SAT with SA for 11th graders and eligible 12th graders. When planning for testing rooms, the size of the cohort testing and the size of rooms used for testing will determine the number of rooms needed. Options for rooms include larger spaces, such as auditoriums and gymnasiums, as well as smaller spaces, such as classrooms. Location of testing rooms within the building should be separated from other classes and tests that are on different schedules or taking different assessments. The testing room should be in an area where there will be minimal noise and distractions from outside the building, and the testing room should have access to nearby restrooms. Seating and furniture requirements. Use chairs with backs. Face seats in the same direction. Place chairs directly behind those in the preceding row. Separate each student by a minimum of 3 feet from right to left. At tables, students must be sitting at least 3 feet apart and facing the same direction. 2 students can be seated at a table that is at least 6 feet long. Ensure unimpeded access to every student by staff. Provide a large, smooth writing surface, preferably desks or tables. Tablet armchairs must have a minimum writing surface of 12 by 15 inches. Study carrels, lap boards, language laboratory booths, and tables with partitions or dividers are not acceptable. With flexible start times, schools can start testing earlier and/or later than usual and split their students across multiple testing groups. All requirements for testing and breaks still apply, and all testing must be completed within the same school day unless students are approved for a multi-day testing accommodation. No group of students can begin testing after another group has completed the test. Mobile phones may be returned to exiting groups of students as they complete testing only after the last group of students has begun testing. Schools can use flexible start times when testing groups of students taking the same assessment or taking different assessments. Local health and safety guidelines may require that only a limited number of students may access the restroom or hallways at a time. In such cases, you may elect to double the time of scheduled breaks, including accommodated breaks, to ensure that students can access the restroom or hallway in an orderly fashion. You may allow students to consume snacks and drinks while standing behind their desks away from test materials. Assign rooms for separate overlapping testing groups in different areas of the school building to limit contact between students. College Board permission to start later in the day is not required. Most schools participating in the spring 2023 Michigan provided assessments will use their schools as the test location. However, off-site testing may apply to some. If you need more space, or if, for example, your school is a virtual school, you may use an off-site testing location. As mentioned before, coordinators only need to submit an off-site testing request if they will be returning test materials directly from the off-site testing location. If the off-site test coordinator would be sending test materials back to the school to be returned, an off-site testing request is not needed. Go to www.sat.org/offsite requests for PSAT related requests. Submitters will need to identify how many off-site locations are being utilized, not the location information itself. Submission of the request can be assumed to be automatically approved unless otherwise communicated by College Board. No approval email will be sent to coordinators. Requests for off-site testing for College Board assessments must be done separately than off-site testing requests for MSTEP or ACT work keys for that matter. Off-site requests must be submitted by January 20, 2023. If off-site testing is needed after the deadline, contact Michigan Educator Hotline for additional return materials. With an increase in the number of student answer documents being returned without a barcode label or without a valid barcode label, MDE strongly emphasizes the following. Every student answer document for PSAT 8-9 must have a valid barcode label attached for the answer document to be scored. Schools submitting answer documents without correct barcode labels may be subject to follow-up and monitoring visits by MDE. As we prepare to conclude this presentation, I want to reference some tasks that are important for you to complete, if possible, by the end of 2022. Ensure EEM is updated and accurate as soon as possible at the building level. Respond to the intent to participate communication if you received it, and do so by November 21st, 2022. If you didn't receive an intent to participate communication, verify in the Test Center participation page in the OEAA Secure site that your school is established to participate in the appropriate assessments, and do so by December 16, 2022. Submit an off-site testing request, if needed, by January 20th, 2023, and request access to SSD online if needed. There are several resources available to you as you prepare for spring 2023. You can go to the michigan.gov sites on the screen for more information about PSAT 8-9. You can contact the Michigan Educator Hotline at 866-870-3127, or you can contact a member of the Michigan Field Team. Carrie and Ted's information is on the screen. Finally, please be sure to read the Spotlight on Student Assessment and Accountability newsletter distributed by MDE each week. It contains important reminders and updates. Thank you so much for your time today, and have a great rest of the day. Goodbye.